England, small, rainy, and once a target for invaders, seems an unlikely birthplace for a global empire. Yet from this island, a network of trade, power, and ambition would reshape the world. The British Empire was not just about kings or red-coated soldiers, but about ordinary people swept up in a vast machine. It connected a weaver in Manchester to a farmer in Kenya, binding millions in a web of commerce and control. At its height, the empire covered a quarter of the globe and ruled a quarter of its people. The sun never set on the British Empire. Its reach was truly global. But empires rise and fall. England's story is one of astonishing ascent and painful decline. To understand the British Empire is to understand the roots of our modern world. This is the story of how one small island swallowed the world, and what happened when it couldn't hold it all. England's journey began with survival, not conquest. In the earliest days, the people who lived on this island faced a constant struggle against the elements and against each other, forging communities in the wild, untamed landscape. Invaders, Romans, Germanic tribes, Vikings, arrived in waves, each leaving their mark on England's language, laws, and landscape. These newcomers brought new customs, technologies, and beliefs, layering their cultures over the old. The Vikings, in particular, forced the scattered Anglo-Saxon kingdoms to unite for survival. Out of this shared adversity, a new sense of Englishness began to emerge, rooted in resilience and cooperation. The Norman conquest in 1066 brought French-speaking rulers and a rigid, feudal system. Yet, over generations, conquerors and conquered gradually merged, blending their traditions and identities. English became a hybrid language, absorbing words and ideas from every invader. A unique political culture took shape, balancing old customs with new influences. Power struggles between kings and barons led to the Magna Carta, a revolutionary document that established the principle that even the king was subject to the law. This was a turning point in English history. Gradually, parliament and legal precedent created rare stability in medieval Europe. The English developed a system of government that valued debate, compromise, and the rule of law. This hard-won unity and robust institutions would later fuel England's global ambitions, giving it the confidence and organization to look beyond its borders. The English identity was forged in the crucible of invasion, resistance, and adaptation. Every challenge made the nation stronger and more cohesive. By the time England looked outward, it was ready to shape the world, equipped with a strong sense of self and a legacy of overcoming adversity. The island's internal struggles between rulers and ruled, old and new, became the foundation for its imperial future, teaching lessons in governance and unity. England's story is one of transformation. Outsiders became insiders, and a patchwork of peoples and customs became a nation with a shared identity and purpose. The stage was set for England to project its power far beyond its shores, embarking on voyages that would change the world. The making of England was the making of an empire, an identity forged through centuries of challenge, adaptation, and ambition. The sea was England's greatest asset and challenge, a vast expanse that both protected and isolated the island nation. For centuries, English ships hugged the coast, overshadowed by the mightier Spanish and Portuguese fleets, which dominated the seas with their advanced naval technology and exploration prowess. But the defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588 shattered old certainties and sparked new ambition, marking a turning point in naval history and igniting England's maritime aspirations. Suddenly, the ocean became England's highway to the world, a vast network of routes that promised wealth and influence far beyond its shores. Private trading companies like the East India Company led the charge, seeking profit in India, the Caribbean, and North America, establishing a foothold in these lucrative markets. Trade, not conquest, was the initial motive. The flag followed commerce, as merchants and adventurers sought new opportunities. To protect these routes, England built the world's most powerful navy, a formidable force that would ensure the safety of its commercial interests. The Royal Navy became the backbone of empire, mapping the globe and controlling sea lanes, ensuring that British interests were safeguarded across the world. Merchant ships and warships alike carried goods, people, and power to every corner of the world, spreading British influence and culture. The empire grew as a commercial venture that became political, with trade routes evolving into pathways of imperial control. Control of the seas meant control of the world, as naval supremacy translated into global dominance. The ship was the empire's most potent weapon, and its greatest symbol, representing the reach and might of British power. England's mastery of the waves made its empire possible, a testament to the strategic importance of naval power in shaping history. While the Navy ruled the seas, the Industrial Revolution transformed England at home. Coal, iron, and steam powered factories that produced goods on an unprecedented scale. British industry demanded raw materials from the colonies and sold finished products back, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of wealth and control. The profits from trade fueled further industrial growth, and new technologies gave Britain a military edge. Cities swelled with workers, and a new class of industrialists rose to power. The empire became both workshop and marketplace for the world. Technological advances, steamships, railways, telegraphs, allowed Britain to control vast territories with few people. The Industrial Revolution was the engine of empire, driving expansion and dominance. But progress had a dark side. Crowded cities, pollution, and deep social divides. Britain's industrial might made its empire possible and shaped the modern world. The clatter of looms in Lancashire echoed across continents. Technology and empire marched hand in hand. The British Empire was a lived reality for millions, not just a map or a ledger. For Britons, it meant pride and opportunity. For the colonized, it brought upheaval and loss. British rule disrupted societies, destroyed local industries, and forced farmers into cash crops, often causing famine. The empire created hybrid worlds, English-educated elites in India, arbitrary borders in Africa, and new cultural fusions everywhere. Britain itself was transformed by colonial wealth and goods, but also by arrogance and insularity. The empire's influence flowed both ways, but power and profit moved overwhelmingly toward Britain. The legacy was complex: progress and pain, connection and conflict. Life under the Union Jack was a world of contradictions. At its height, the British Empire seemed unshakable, a vast network of territories spanning continents and oceans. Its power and influence reached into every corner of the globe, and London stood as the heart of this mighty empire. Yet beneath the surface, cracks were quietly forming, threatening the very foundation of British dominance. The enormous cost of maintaining global rule strained Britain's resources to the breaking point. Meanwhile, new industrial powers like Germany and the United States were rising rapidly, challenging Britain's economic and military supremacy. The world was changing, and Britain's grip was loosening. Across the empire, colonized peoples, many inspired by British ideals of liberty and self-determination, began to demand their own freedom. Protests and movements for independence grew stronger, fueled by a desire for dignity and national identity. World War I marked a turning point. Colonial soldiers fought and died for Britain on distant battlefields, hoping their sacrifices would be rewarded. But when they returned home, they found little change, and many began to openly question the legitimacy of imperial rule. The devastation of World War II left Britain weakened, exhausted, and deeply in debt. The war had drained the nation's resources and morale. World War II finished the job that the first had started, making it clear that the empire could no longer be sustained. The shocking fall of Singapore to Japanese forces and the post-war bankruptcy exposed the limits of British power for all to see. The myth of invincibility was shattered, both at home and abroad. Independence movements surged across the empire, beginning with the momentous events in India and Pakistan in 1947. The world watched as two new nations were born, signaling the start of a wave of decolonization. Decolonization swept the globe. Africa, the Caribbean, Asia, one after another, new nations emerged as the Union Jack was lowered and new flags were raised in its place. The old order was rapidly dissolving. The Suez Crisis of 1956 marked the final humiliation for Britain. The failed intervention made it clear to the world that Britain was no longer a global superpower, and its days of imperial dominance were over. The empire unraveled quickly as territory after territory gained independence, leaving a changed and uncertain world in its wake. The British Empire, once the largest in history, faded into memory. The sun had finally set on the British Empire, ending an era that had shaped the modern world for centuries. The age of empire was over. Former colonies celebrated their newfound independence while Britain faced the reality of a world transformed. Britain now had to find a new place in the world, redefining its identity and role on the global stage in the aftermath of empire. The British Empire is gone, but its legacy is everywhere. English is the global language of business and science, a direct result of empire. British legal and political systems shaped countries from Canada to India. Railways, ports, and borders drawn by the British still define nations, often fueling conflict. The empire created global inequalities that persist today, enriching Britain while impoverishing many colonies. Debates over reparations and stolen artifacts remain unresolved. The empire moved people across continents, creating multicultural societies and diasporas. It spread sports and culture, but also racism and trauma. The experience of colonial rule left deep scars and shaped modern identities. The legacy of empire is a story of connection, conflict, and unfinished business. The British Empire's story is a lesson in ambition, innovation, and the limits of power. It shows how a nation can shape the world through trade, technology, and organization, but it also reveals that empires contain the seeds of their own destruction. The very ideas and tools that built the empire fueled its undoing. The story is not one of simple good or evil, but of progress and exploitation, civilization and cruelty. The empire's rise warns against arrogance, its fall against the illusion of permanence. Britain's legacy is a complex identity, caught between nostalgia and reinvention. For the world, the empire's story explains how our interconnected, unequal world came to be. History is messy, contradictory, and deeply human, and its consequences are still with us.